The sacred pools glowed with soft blue light as hundreds of Kithra gathered for the spawning ceremony. Their bodies shimmered with bright patterns that danced across their skin like living jewels. Each female carried thousands of eggs ready to be released into the warm waters. Each male prepared to fertilize them with clouds of genetic material. This was the most important day in their culture. This was the day that determined the future of their species. Yuna watched from the shadows. At the edge of the ceremony grounds, her skin remained dull and dark. No bright patterns flickered across her body. No eggs swelled within her. She was 25 years old now. She should have spawned 3 times already. But her body refused to cooperate. Her reproductive organs had never developed properly. She was broken, defective, empty. The elder priestess raised her arms above the largest pool. "Today we continue the great cycle of life," she announced. "Today we ensure our species survives for another generation. Let all who are blessed step forward." One by one, the fertile Kithara entered the pools. The water began to shimmer as eggs and sperm mixed together. New life sparked in the sacred waters. The crowd sang ancient songs of creation and renewal. Their voices echoed through the underwater chambers carved deep into the ocean floor. Yuna tried to slip away before anyone noticed her, but a hand grabbed her arm. She turned to see her younger sister, Nari. Unlike Yuna, Nari's skin blazed with the bright orange patterns that marked her as ready to spawn. "Why are you here?" Nari hissed. "You should not be watching this ceremony. You do not belong here." "I just wanted to see," Yuna whispered. "I wanted to remember what it was like before." "Before what? Before we all realized you were broken?" Nari's voice was cruel. "Mother and father are ashamed of you. The whole family is ashamed. You make us all look bad." Yuna pulled her arm free. "I did not choose this. I wish I could spawn like everyone else. I wish I was normal. But you are not normal. You never will be. The sooner you accept that, the better." Nari turned away. "Do not let anyone see you here again." Yuna watched her sister join the other spawning females. Nari's patterns grew even brighter as she entered the sacred pool. Soon she would have hundreds of offspring. She would be celebrated and honored. She would have fulfilled her purpose in life. Yuna had no purpose. She was a genetic dead end, a mistake in the great chain of evolution. She swam away from the ceremony as fast as she could. The current carried her through the dark tunnels that connected the different parts of their underwater city. She passed markets and schools and homes where normal Kithara lived their normal lives. None of them paid attention to her. She had become invisible, forgotten. Her parents had stopped speaking to her after her 3rd failed spawning attempt. They had declared her dead to the family. Her name was removed from the family records. Her belongings were thrown away. She was no longer their daughter. She was nothing. Yuna had found shelter in the abandoned ruins at the edge of the city. These were the remains of an ancient settlement that had been destroyed in a war long ago. The walls were cracked and covered with strange growths. The water was cold and murky, but it was better than living on the streets. She survived by scavenging. She searched through garbage dumps for food scraps and useful items. She collected broken tools and tried to fix them. She traded whatever she found for the basic supplies she needed to stay alive. It was a hard life, but it was the only life available to her. The other scavengers were mostly defectives like herself. There was old Diho, who had been born with only one working eye. There was young Minji, whose spine was twisted and made swimming difficult. There was Junho, whose gills were too small and made breathing underwater painful. They were all the rejects of Kithara society. They were all considered worthless, but even among the defectives, Yuna was special. She was the only one who could not spawn at all. The others might have physical problems, but they could still contribute to the gene pool. Yuna could not. She was completely useless from a biological standpoint. One day, while searching through a dump site near the city's outer walls, Yuna found something strange. It was a piece of metal unlike anything she had seen before. It was smooth and silver, and seemed to glow with its own inner light. Strange symbols were carved into its surface. She showed it to Deho, who was the oldest and wisest of the scavengers. He examined it carefully with his one good eye. "This is not from our world," he said finally. "This came from somewhere else, somewhere far away." "What do you mean?" Yuna asked. "I have heard rumors," Deho said quietly. "Stories of strange creatures that come from above the water. They say these creatures have powerful magic and amazing technology. They say they come from the stars themselves." Yuna stared at the metal fragment. "Do you think they are real?" "I do not know. But if they are, maybe they are different from us. Maybe they do not care about spawning and genetic purity. Maybe they would not see you as defective." The idea was almost too strange to believe. A species that did not judge others by their ability to reproduce? It seemed impossible. Every intelligent species Yuna knew about was focused on genetic continuation. It was the most basic drive of all life. But holding the mysterious metal fragment, she allowed herself to imagine. What if there really were creatures who valued other things? What if there was a place where being different was not a curse? What if she could find somewhere to belong? The thought gave her hope for the first time in years. Maybe she was not completely worthless after all. Maybe there was a purpose for her existence that she had not yet discovered. She kept the metal fragment, hidden in her shelter. Sometimes she would take it out and stare at it, wondering about the beings who had made it. She dreamed of meeting them someday. She dreamed of finding acceptance among the stars. Little did she know that her dreams were about to become reality. 3 weeks after finding the strange metal fragment, Yuna discovered where it had come from. She was scavenging in the forbidden waters beyond the city limits when she saw lights moving beneath the ocean floor. These were not the soft blue glows of Kythera technology. These lights were bright white and yellow, harsh and alien. Curiosity overcame her fear. She swam closer to investigate. As she approached, she realized the lights were coming from inside a massive structure that had been built on the sea bottom. The structure was made of the same strange metal as the fragment she had found. It was covered with symbols and markings that hurt her eyes to look at directly. Yuna had never seen anything like it. The building was angular and geometric in ways that felt wrong to her senses. Kythera architecture was smooth and flowing, designed to work with the natural currents of the ocean. This structure fought against the water instead of embracing it. She circled the building carefully, trying to understand what it was. Through transparent panels, she could see movement inside, but the creatures moving around were not Kythera. They were something else entirely. They had no gills. They wore strange coverings over their skin. They moved awkwardly in the water, like they did not belong there. But they seemed intelligent. They were operating complex equipment and communicating with each other through gestures and sounds. As Yuna watched, one of the creatures approached the transparent panel she was looking through. It was smaller than the others, with long, dark hair and kind eyes. The creature saw her and stopped moving. They stared at each other for a long moment. The creature made no threatening gestures. Instead, it placed one hand against the transparent barrier and tilted its head in what seemed like curiosity. Yuna found herself moving closer. She placed her own hand against the barrier, matching the creature's position. Suddenly, alarms began blaring from the structure. Red lights flashed everywhere. The creature Yuna had been watching disappeared from view. Other creatures ran past the windows in obvious panic. Yuna realized she had triggered some kind of security system. She tried to swim away, but metal tentacles shot out from hidden openings in the structure. They wrapped around her arms and legs, holding her tight. Electric shocks ran through her body. Pain exploded in her mind. She lost consciousness. When Yuna woke up, she was inside the strange structure. She was lying on a soft surface in a room filled with warm air instead of water. Breathing was difficult. Her gills were not designed for this environment. The creature she had seen before was sitting beside her. Up close, Yuna could see that it was definitely not Kythera. Its skin was smooth and pink instead of scaled. It had no visible gills or fins. but its eyes were gentle and concerned. "Are you okay?" the creature asked in perfect Kythera language. Yuna was shocked. "You can speak our language?" "I have been studying it since we arrived. My name is Jiwan. I am a scientist." "What is your name?" "Yuna," she answered hesitantly. "Are you going to hurt me?" "No. We brought you inside because our defense system injured you. I have been treating your wounds." Jiwan gestured to bandages wrapped around Yuna's arms and legs. "You were watching us for quite some time. We were curious about you too." "What? Are you? Where did you come from?" "We are humans. We come from a planet far away from here. We are studying your world and your people." Yuna had never heard the word human before. "Why are you studying us?" "Because we believe that all intelligent life is valuable. We want to learn from you and perhaps teach you some things as well." This concept was difficult for Yuna to understand. "But I am not valuable, I am defective, I cannot spawn like other Kythera." Jiwan's expression changed to confusion. "What does spawning have to do with your value as a person?" "Everything. A Kythera who cannot reproduce is useless. That is why I was scavenging in the Forbidden Waters. I have nowhere else to go." "That is terrible," Jiwan said with genuine sadness. "Among humans, reproduction is only one small part of what makes someone valuable. We value intelligence, creativity, kindness, curiosity, and many other qualities. But if someone cannot have children, how do they contribute to the future? In many ways. They can teach others. They can create art or music. They can make scientific discoveries. They can help their community in countless ways that have nothing to do with genetics." Yuna felt something strange happening in her chest. It was a warm feeling she had not experienced in years. "Hope, would you like to meet the other humans?" Jiwan asked. "I think they would find you very interesting." Yuna nodded. Jiwan led her through corridors filled with amazing technology. Everything was so different from Kythera design. The walls were straight lines and right angles. The lights were steady instead of pulsing. The air was dry and strange smelling. They entered a large room where two other humans were working with complex equipment. Jiwan introduced them as Minho and Hana. Like Jiwan, they both spoke Kythera and treated Yuna with kindness and respect. "We, have been trying to establish contact with your people," Minho explained. "But every time we send messages, they are ignored or rejected. That is because you are contacting the government," Yuna said. "They are very suspicious of outsiders. They believe that contact with other species will contaminate our genetic purity." "What do you think?" Hana asked. Yuna considered the question carefully. "I think maybe contamination is not always bad. Sometimes mixing different things together creates something better than either one alone." The humans exchanged glances. "Would you be willing to help us understand your people better?" Jiwan asked. "In return, we could teach you about our culture and technology." "You would want my help, even though I am defective?" "You are not defective," Hana said firmly. "You are different, and different can be wonderful." For the first time in her life, Yuna felt like she belonged somewhere. These strange creatures from the stars did not judge her by her ability to spawn. They saw value in her mind and her experiences. They wanted to learn from her. "Yes," she said, "I will help you." But as she spoke these words, she had no idea that her decision would soon bring danger to both herself and her new human friends. The Kythera government was already aware of the human presence, and they would not tolerate any of their people cooperating with the aliens. For the next 2 months, Yuna lived with the humans in their research station. Every day brought new discoveries and learning experiences. She taught them about Kythera history, language, and technology. In return, they shared their knowledge of science, philosophy, and human culture. Hana became her closest friend among the humans. The medical officer spent hours teaching Yuna about human biology and medicine. Yuna was fascinated to learn that humans had only 2 biological sexes, instead of the complex spawning castes of the Kythera. Even more amazing was the fact that humans could choose whether or not to have children. Some humans never have offspring, Hana explained as they worked together in the medical bay. They dedicate their lives to other pursuits. They become teachers, artists, explorers, or scientists. Their contributions to society are just as important as those who do reproduce. Yuna found this concept revolutionary. But how does your species continue if some individuals do not have children? Enough humans choose to reproduce to keep our population stable. But we do not force anyone to do it, and we do not consider those who choose not to reproduce as less valuable. What about those who cannot reproduce? Are they treated badly? Sometimes they are sad about it, Hana admitted. But society does not reject them. Often they become the most caring teachers and mentors because they pour their parental instincts into helping other people's children grow. This idea made Yuna think about her own situation in a new way. Maybe her inability to spawn was not a curse. Maybe it meant she could contribute to society in other ways. Minho taught her about human technology and engineering. He showed her how to operate their computers and communication systems. Yuna's quick mind absorbed the knowledge eagerly. Soon she was helping him repair and improve their equipment. You have an excellent understanding of how different systems work together, Minho told her one day. Have you ever considered becoming an engineer? Kithara do not have engineers, Yuna replied. We have spawning castes and support castes. Everyone is assigned a role based on their genetic type. That seems wasteful, Minho said. What if someone has talents that do not match their assigned caste? Then they must suppress those talents for the good of society. Minho shook his head sadly. Among humans, we try to help people develop whatever talents they have. We believe that society benefits when individuals can pursue their strengths. Jiwan taught Yuna about human history and philosophy. She learned about concepts like individual rights, personal freedom, and social equality. These ideas were completely foreign to Kithara culture, but they resonated deeply with Yuna's experiences. Your people's system of judging worth based on reproductive ability is not unique, Jiwan explained. Many species we have encountered have similar beliefs, but most of them eventually evolve beyond such limitations. How do they change? Usually it happens when individuals like you start questioning the system. They show others that there are different ways to organize society. They prove that diversity makes a species stronger, not weaker. During her time with the humans, Yuna discovered abilities she never knew she possessed. Her mind was sharper than most Kithara. She could solve complex problems quickly and see connections that others missed. She had excellent memory and could learn new languages with ease. You are remarkably intelligent, Hana told her after conducting some tests. Your brain shows unusual development patterns. I think your inability to spawn might be connected to enhanced cognitive abilities. What does that mean? It means evolution might be pushing your species in a new direction. Instead of focusing only on reproduction, some Kithara might be developing enhanced intelligence and other survival traits. This possibility excited and frightened Yuna. If Hana was right, then she represented the future of her species. But the current Kithara leadership would never accept such a change. They were too invested in the old ways. As Yuna's skills and confidence grew, she began helping the humans with their research in meaningful ways. She translated ancient Kithara texts that contained scientific knowledge the humans found valuable. She helped them understand the complex social dynamics of her people. She even contributed original ideas to their studies. For the first time in her life, Yuna felt useful. She had found her purpose, and it had nothing to do with spawning. But their peaceful research was not destined to continue. One day, while Yuna was working with Jiwan on a translation project, alarms began sounding throughout the research station. We have company, Minho announced over the communication system. Kithara military vessels are approaching. They look armed and angry. Through the station's viewing windows, Yuna could see sleek Kithara warships surrounding the human facility. Their weapons were powered up and ready to fire. This was not a diplomatic visit. They have come for me, Yuna said quietly. Someone must have told them I was here. We will not let them take you, Jiwan said firmly. You do not understand. If I stay here, they will destroy your station and everyone in it. Kythera military does not negotiate with genetic contamination. A communications signal came through from the lead warship. The image of Commander Siak appeared on their main screen. His scaled face was twisted with disgust and anger. "Aliens," he said in heavily accented but understandable human language. "You have stolen property of the Kythera Empire. Return the defective female immediately, or face the consequences." Jiwan activated the return communication. "Yuna is here by her own choice. She is not property. The creature you call Yuna is a genetic aberration. She has no rights under Kythera law. Return her now." "No," Jiwan said simply. Commander Siak's expression grew even more threatening. "Then you have chosen war. You have 1 hour to surrender the aberration and leave our waters. If you refuse, we will destroy your vessel and everyone aboard." The communication ended. The humans looked at each other with worry and determination. "We need to contact our government," Minho said. "This could start an interplanetary conflict." "There is no time," Yuna said. "And there is another way." She looked at her human friends with tears in her eyes. These people had shown her kindness and acceptance when her own species had rejected her. They had helped her discover her true worth and potential, but she could not let them die for her sake. "I will go with them," she said quietly. "It is the only way to protect you." "No," Jiwan said immediately. "We will not let you sacrifice yourself. There has to be another solution." "You do not understand Kythera military," Yuna replied sadly. "Commander Siak will do exactly what he promised. He will destroy this station and kill all of you if I do not surrender." "Then we fight," Minho said, moving toward the weapons controls. "With what?" "You have 3 people and research equipment. They have 20 warships and enough firepower to level a city." Hana put her hand on Yuna's shoulder. "You have become like family to us. We do not abandon family." The words touched Yuna's heart deeply. For so long she had believed she would never have a real family. The humans had proven her wrong, but now she had to protect that family, even if it meant leaving them forever. "If I go with them willingly, they might let you leave in peace," she said. "You can return to your own people and tell them about what you learned here." "What will happen to you?" Jiwan asked. Yuna looked away. She knew exactly what would happen, but she did not want to frighten her friends. "They will probably send me back to the scavenger districts. My life will return to what it was before." This was not entirely true. Yuna suspected that Commander Siak had much worse plans for her. A defective Kythera who had been contaminated by alien contact would not be allowed to live freely. She would probably be executed as an example to others. But she could not tell the humans this. They would never let her go if they knew the truth. "I need to do this," she said firmly. "You have given me the greatest gift possible. You showed me that I have value as an individual. That knowledge will stay with me no matter what happens next." The humans continued to argue, but Yuna had made up her mind. She activated the communication system and contacted Commander Siak. "I will come with you," she told him, "but you must promise to let the humans leave safely." Commander Siak's cold eyes studied her through the screen. "You are in no position to make demands, aberration. If you want me to cooperate, you will agree to my terms. Otherwise, the humans might decide to fight. That would complicate your mission." After a long pause, Commander Siak nodded. "Very well. Surrender yourself within 10 minutes and the aliens will be allowed to depart." The communication ended. Yuna turned to her human friends who were all staring at her with tears in their eyes. "Thank you for everything," she said. "You changed my life in ways I cannot even express." Jiwan stepped forward and embraced her. "This is not goodbye forever. We will find a way to help you. Do not risk your lives for me again. Promise me." Jiwan hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Yuna said farewell to each of the humans individually. Hana gave her a small device that contained medical supplies and emergency communication equipment. Minho gave her a toolkit that might prove useful. Jiwan gave her a datapad containing human literature and philosophy. "Remember what you learned here," Jiwan said. Remember that you are valuable exactly as you are. Yuna swam out of the research station toward the waiting Kithara warships. As soon as she was aboard Commander Siak's vessel, restraints were clamped around her arms and legs. She was dragged to a holding cell in the ship's lower levels. Through the small window in her cell, she watched the human research station rise toward the surface and disappear. Her friends were safe. That was what mattered most. The journey back to the Kithra capital took 2 days. During that time, Yuna was not fed or given fresh water. The guards treated her like a dangerous criminal. They spoke about her as if she was not there, using words like contaminated, corrupted, and worthless. But their words no longer had the power to hurt her the way they once did. The humans had taught her that other perspectives existed. She was not worthless simply because the Kithara said she was. When they arrived at the capital, Yuna was taken directly to the council chambers. This was where the most important decisions affecting Kithara society were made. The room was filled with the highest-ranking officials in their government. Elder Taman sat at the center of the council table. His ancient face was wrinkled with disgust as he looked at her. "So this is the creature that has brought shame upon our entire species," he said. "The defective female who consorted with aliens and betrayed her own kind." "I did not betray anyone," Yuna said calmly. "I learned from the humans. They taught me valuable things about science and philosophy." "Silence," Taman roared. "You have been contaminated by alien ideas. You are no longer truly Kithara." "What does it mean to be truly Kithara?" Yuna asked. "Does it mean rejecting knowledge simply because it comes from outsiders? Does it mean treating members of our own species as worthless because they are different?" Several council members shifted uncomfortably at her words. But Taman's expression only grew more angry. "You see," he said to the other council members, "the contamination has corrupted her mind completely. She questions the fundamental principles of our society." "Maybe those principles need to be questioned," said a young voice from the back of the chamber. Everyone turned to see Kyung, a junior researcher who worked in the government science division. He was young for a council observer, with bright green patterns marking him as highly intelligent. "Counselor Kyung," Taman said coldly, "you forget your place." "I forget nothing," Kyung replied boldly. "I have studied the reports from our agents who observed the human research station. Their technology is more advanced than ours. Their scientific methods are superior. Perhaps we could learn from them instead of simply rejecting them." "Their ideas are poison," Commander Sayok interjected. "They value individuals over the collective good. They allow genetic defectives to live freely among normal population. Such practices weaken a species, do they?" Kyung asked. "The humans seem quite successful for a species that embraces diversity." More council members began muttering among themselves. Some seemed intrigued by Kyung's words. Others appeared horrified. Yuna realized that her sacrifice might have accomplished more than she had hoped. Her actions had started a debate within the highest levels of Kithara government. Some of her people were beginning to question the old ways, but Taman was not ready to allow such questioning to continue. "Enough," he declared. "This aberration and her alien ideas represent a threat to everything we hold sacred. She must be eliminated before she can corrupt others." "You mean executed," Kyung said flatly. "I mean eliminated," Taman repeated, "along with any others who have been contaminated by her presence." Kyung paled. Several other young council members who had seemed sympathetic to new ideas suddenly looked frightened. Yuna felt her heart sink. Not only was she going to die, but her actions had put other progressive Kithara in danger as well. But as the guards moved to take her away, she heard something that gave her hope. It was the sound of distant explosions echoing through the water. Outside the council chambers, someone was attacking the capital, and Yuna had a strong suspicion she knew who it was. Her human friends had not given up on her after all. The explosions grew louder and closer. Emergency alarms began blaring throughout the council chambers. Through the large windows, Yuna could see bright flashes of light in the dark water outside. "What is happening?" Elder Taman demanded. "Commander," Sayek was speaking rapidly into his communication device. His face grew pale as he listened to the reports coming in. "The aliens have returned," he announced. "They are attacking our outer defenses with unknown weapons." "Impossible," Taman said. "There were only 3 of them. They have brought reinforcements, at least 10 vessels of unknown design. Our forces are having difficulty matching their technology." Yuna's heart leaped with hope and worry. The humans had come back for her, but they were risking a war between their species to do it. She had to find a way to stop the fighting before too many lives were lost. "Let me speak to them," she said. "I can convince them to stop the attack." "Silence! Aberration!" Taman snapped. "You have caused enough trouble." But Kyung stepped forward. "She may be right. If she can end this conflict without further bloodshed, we should let her try. The only way to end this conflict is to destroy the aliens completely," Commander Seok said. "They have violated our territory and attacked our forces. This is an act of war." More explosions shook the building. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling. Some of the older council members were beginning to look frightened. "Our forces are being pushed back," Seok reported. "The alien weapons are unlike anything we have encountered. They are not trying to kill our soldiers, but they are disabling our ships with some kind of energy weapon." This gave Yuna hope. The humans were trying to minimize casualties even while rescuing her. They were fighting with restraint and precision. Suddenly, the main doors to the council chamber burst open. But instead of guards or soldiers, it was Kyung who entered along with several other young Cathara. They were all armed and moving with determination. "What is the meaning of this?" Taman demanded. "We are taking control of this situation," Kyung announced. "Too many of our people have suffered under the old ways. It is time for change." "This is treason," Commander Seok said, reaching for his weapon. "This is evolution," Kyung replied. "Something our species desperately needs." More young Cathara poured into the chamber. Yuna recognized some of them from her time scavenging. They were defectives and outcasts who had somehow organized themselves into a rebellion. "How did you get past the guards?" Seok asked. "The guards joined us," said a familiar voice. Yuna turned to see old Daeho, the one-eyed scavenger she had known from the ruins. He was carrying a weapon and wearing a grim smile. "Turns out there are a lot of Kithara who are tired of being treated as worthless." The revolution had begun. Years of resentment and suppressed anger were finally exploding into action. But Yuna knew they could not win through violence alone. They needed a better solution. "Stop the fighting," she called out. "All of you, please stop." The room fell quiet. Everyone turned to look at her. "Violence will not solve our problems," she continued. "We need to talk to each other. We need to find a way forward that does not require anyone to die." "The old ways must be destroyed," Kyung said passionately. "How else can we build something better?" "By showing that something better is possible," Yuna replied. "The humans taught me that change comes from proving new ideas work, not from destroying old ones." She turned to address the entire council. "I have lived among humans for 2 months. I have seen how their society functions. They are not perfect, but they have learned to value diversity and individual worth. Their civilization is stronger because of it, not weaker." "Lies," Taman said weakly. But his voice lacked its earlier conviction. "Ask Commander Seok about their technology," Yuna challenged. "Ask him about their tactical abilities. If diversity makes a species weak, how are they defeating our forces?" Seok remained silent, but his expression showed that he understood her point. "I propose a new way forward," Yuna continued. "Let us learn from the humans while keeping the best parts of our own culture. Let us create a society where spawning is honored but not required, where genetic diversity is celebrated rather than feared, where every individual has value regardless of their reproductive status." "And what about those who prefer the old ways?" Elder Taman asked. "They can continue living as they always have," Yuna said. "No one will be forced to change, but no one will be forced to remain the same either." Kyung stepped forward. "I support this proposal. We can create separate communities for those with different values. Over time, people can choose which way of life suits them better." The fighting outside was beginning to slow down. Through the windows, Yuna could see human and Kithara vessels moving closer together without firing. The humans are requesting communication, Siak announced reluctantly. Put them through, Kyung ordered. Jiwon's face appeared on the main screen. Behind her, Yuna could see Minho and Hana along with several other humans she did not recognize. Yuna, Jiwon said with relief. Are you hurt? I am fine, Yuna replied. But we need to stop this fighting before anyone is seriously injured. We came back for you, Hana said. We could not let them execute you. How did you know I was going to be executed? We have been monitoring Kithara communications, Minho explained. We heard the council's plans. Elder Taemin looked shocked. You can understand our private communications? Your encryption is not very sophisticated, one of the new humans said. We have been listening to your government discussions for weeks. This revelation caused more murmuring among the council members. If the humans could monitor their communications so easily, then Kithara technology was indeed inferior. We have a proposal, Jiwon said. We would like to establish a permanent research colony here. We can share our technology and knowledge with any Kithara who are interested in learning. In return, we hope to learn from your culture and science. And what about the defectives? Kyung asked. What about those who do not fit into traditional Kithara society? They would be welcome in our colony, Jiwon replied. We believe that diversity strengthens any community. Yuna felt tears of joy forming in her eyes. The humans were offering exactly what she had dreamed of. A place where she and others like her could belong. Over the following days, negotiations continued between the humans, the Kithara rebels, and the traditional government. Eventually, they reached an agreement that satisfied most parties. The planet would be divided into different zones. Traditional Kithara could continue their spawning-based society in their ancestral territories. Progressive Kithara could establish new communities based on individual achievement and diversity. And the humans would build their research colony in neutral waters, open to anyone who wanted to participate. Yuna became the official ambassador between all three groups. She split her time between the human colony, the progressive Kithara settlements, and even occasional visits to traditional territories where she shared knowledge and ideas. Years passed. The experiment succeeded beyond everyone's expectations. The progressive Kithara communities thrived, as individuals were free to develop their talents regardless of their reproductive status. Many made significant contributions to science, art, and philosophy. The human colony became a center of learning and innovation that benefited all three societies. Even some traditional Kithara began adopting new ideas. They still valued spawning and genetic continuity, but they also started recognizing other forms of contribution to society. Yuna established schools for young defectives, teaching them that their differences were strengths rather than weaknesses. She helped countless individuals discover their unique talents and find their place in the changing world. One day, while teaching a class of young Kithara, one of her students asked her a question. Teacher Yuna, do you ever regret not being able to spawn like other Kithara? Yuna smiled as she considered her answer. Around her were dozens of students who had found purpose and meaning through her guidance. Behind her were research facilities, where human and Kithara scientists worked together on discoveries that would benefit both species. Beyond that were communities where individuals were valued for their contributions rather than their genetics. No, she said finally. I do not regret it at all. Being different led me to find my true purpose. Instead of creating new life through spawning, I have helped create a new way of living. Instead of passing on my genes, I have passed on ideas that will shape the future of our species. She looked out at her students, each one unique and valuable in their own way. You are all the future, she told them. Not because of what you can reproduce, but because of what you can create, discover, and contribute. Never let anyone tell you that you are worthless because you are different. Difference is what drives evolution and progress. The students nodded eagerly, their young minds full of hope and possibility. Outside the classroom windows, human and Kithara vessels moved peacefully through the water, working together on joint projects. The forbidden waters where Yuna had once scavenged alone were now bustling with activity and cooperation. She had found her place in the universe, not as a failed spawner but as a bridge between worlds and a pioneer of new possibilities. Her inability to reproduce had led her to help birth something far greater than offspring. She had helped birth a new future for her entire species, and in that future everyone had value. Everyone belonged. Everyone could find their purpose among the stars.